Welcome back to Our Community. Susie Thomas visiting with Darla Carlisle and Pat Werther from the Alzheimer's Association. All right, I started to ask you before the break. We have times in our lives when we get forgetful. We forget things. Maybe we've all, at some point, there's a word that's on the tip of your tongue and you just can't get that exact word that you mean to say. Or someone's name. It's like, oh my goodness, and I can see their face, cannot come up with their name. Should we be concerned when these things happened, or is it just we have so much on our minds?
We have so much on our minds. I'm going to continue to believe that.
Thank you.
Again, we talk about aging, and our brains do age, and we don't think about it because we don't see it. So those times when we forget, where we put our keys or the name of somebody, that's all normal aging. That's just normal stuff. The things you have to worry about with Alzheimer's is tasks that you used to do that you can't remember to do anymore. So a lot of times when we talk to individuals in the support group, they'll tell us, Mom doesn't want to cook anymore. Well, it's not that Mom doesn't want to cook anymore. Mom doesn't remember how to cook anymore. Mm-hmm. So things that are normal tasks, doing their checkbook, that process of, simple math they can't do anymore. Telling time, because that's again another cognitive skill. Reading the newspaper. We'll have some family members say, well, they don't even want to read the newspaper anymore. Well, again, it's because they see the words, they may, read through the words and it's all there in blur, but to remember what that said, they can't do any longer.
Is that the sign to be watching out for? If a loved one is showing less and less interest in doing something that they used to enjoy?
That would be a good sign, yes.
Are there others that we should be aware of?
Not being able to do, like I said, normal tasks, cognitive skills, reading, writing, time telling, driving somewhere and getting lost and can't remembering, how to get back home. And sometimes it's difficult because a lot of times it's, a husband and a wife living together, and sometimes they don't notice those small changes because they're living with them, and they may then bicker and fight. Oh, I told you that earlier, and he doesn't remember.
Oh yeah, but that happens all the time.
But they miss some of those things.
Yes.
And so it comes on slowly. It's those small things that sometimes we don't see. That looking back, the family will say, "Oh, now that I look back, yes, they did have problems. Probably a year or two sooner than they were actually
than you realize.
Diagnosed.
Losing your keys then is something we all do.
Yes.
Placing your keys in the freezer might be some cause for concern.
Correct.
Okay, well, let's talk about the caregiver because this really is tough on everyone. You have support group nights, and when do you meet?
We do. We meet at Dover. We meet at Union Hospital at 7 o'clock on the third Tuesday of each month. Pat and I, one or the other, or both of us are at that support group meeting every month.
You also have a helpline that a person can call?
We have a 24/7 helpline, and that number is 800-272-3900.
Let's give that again.
That is 800-272-3900.
Okay, that 800 note. We'll give that a couple times before we're done here. I'm seeing a very cool sheet. You're looking at 10 ways to manage stress and be a caregiver. So let's talk about these 10 ways because we feel for these people. You're going through it with them. It's like you've lost this loved one over and over and over again. It's very difficult on the person who's being left behind.
It is, and families come to us all the time, and they're trying to do the right thing, but sometimes you're caught up in all those emotions, and you just don't know what the right things are. So you need help. You need to reach out to others. So you need to find time for yourself, and I'll kind of go through them quickly. We can talk about them more.
Let's do.
So find time for yourself, number one. Know what resources are available. Become educated. Educate yourself about what to expect and how to give care to someone who has the disease. Get help and find support. That's with the 24-hour helpline. Make legal and financial plans. That's going to be needed as the disease progresses for your loved one. Manage your level of stress. Take care of yourself. Know you're doing your best. Accept changes as they occur. And visit your doctor regularly. In short, we can talk more about what each of those really mean.
I want to talk about all of them, actually.
Okay.
I've been to a home where there are 3x5 cards everywhere that remind a person how to go to the toilet, how to brush their teeth, and how to turn on the light switch and so forth. Good idea?
Yes, that is a good idea. Any prompts that they can help maintain their independence and continue to do things for themselves would be helpful.
It seems that these are all good to say, but difficult to do as far as remember to eat right, remember to take care of yourself, give time for yourself. How does a person actually do that? What does that look like in a day to carve out time for the caregiver?
You have to be willing to reach out and have others help you. So, a lot of times, well, I can't go to the store, I can't do this, I can't do that. I have to be here for mom, dad, loved one. You have to be able to reach out to your siblings, maybe your friends at the church, neighbors, a professional agency, maybe there's adult daycare, a respite stay in a facility. You just have to make time, and there are people out there willing to help you so that you can get away and just take time to breathe, go shopping, just kind of to have a normal few minutes in your life.
Is there a point where a person should not be living in their home anymore, where it becomes actually a danger to them and they could go to a facility that's really equipped to take care of that? Of course, the caregiver then goes through all kinds of guilt when that happens, but it's actually better for the patient, and then you can continue to visit them regularly, and whether they remember you or not?
Yeah, we say probably the biggest rule there is safety. If that person is no longer safe in their home, if the individual caring for that person is no longer safe with them at home, that's the time when you may need to make a change. And working in healthcare for a long part of my life, that's probably the biggest struggle that families or spouse have is, how do I take care of this person that I promised I would take care of, but I can no longer do that.
Right.
So there's a lot of very good healthcare facilities in the area that can help do that and help them in that process.
One of the things you mentioned there was know what resources are available. What resources are available?
Well, I think a great place to start, of course, is the Alzheimer's Association, calling that helpline, because they can direct you. There's Area Agency on Aging out there. There are facilities that are willing to help, nursing homes, assisted livings. There's your church organizations. There's just abundance of places. So again, calling the 24/7 helpline for the Alzheimer's Association is a great starting point, because it depends on what resources you need. As Pat mentioned, and I just want to say, sometimes families do, the guilt just eats them up. And I think they need to know that it's okay to if you have to place somebody. Not everybody can keep their loved one at home. We want to. We try to. Maybe 30 years ago, 20 years ago, we could better do that, because now we have folks that are working, both children, the son and the daughter-in-law, or whatever the case is. Your children are working and they're not able to have your loved one at home and stay at home with them. So just helping educate and reassure the families that they can do that and it's okay, and see that they're going to live okay and be cared for in a facility if it comes to that. And that's why the support group is so valuable too, because they can speak to others who are going through the same process.
Yes. When you call that 24/7 hotline, who's on the other end of that?
The that's directly to the Alzheimer's Association. So they have staff there that will talk to you, ask questions, find out exactly what your needs are and how they can help you. And then they have all of the information they need to help direct you in whatever direction you need to go.
So I'm thinking too, they've made some great movies about, people going through this. And it seems like in the movies, there's something like music or a photo or something that brings them back for a little bit of a time, and you've got them back for a little while. Is this just a romanticized idea, or does this really happen?
I think it happens for a while sometimes. I mean, it just depends. I think that's what's so hard, too, about the loss, as Pat talked about earlier, when you're losing those bits and pieces. There are times they won't recognize you, and then one moment there's that flash of recognition. Wow. And it might be for a second. It might be because they looked at a picture or they recognized the picture. But you're going to get to a point where that's not going to be effective any longer, too. So you keep trying. You just keep trying.
Yes.
You never give up.
Yes. I have heard that there's something about music that is so ingrained that if there's something like hearing an old hymn or something, that someone might forget everything else, but they could still sing Christmas carols or something like that, because they're just so deep in there.
Go ahead, Pat.
Music has been shown to be one of the things that they remember the most. So
That's so interesting.
we used to say, find out what kind of music they like. If they were having, a rough day where they were wandering or being a little bit more aggressive, put on the music that they like. And music tend to help soothe them and help them remember something from their past. So music is always a good tool to use when you're dealing with somebody with Alzheimer's to help them be more relaxed.
Good to know. Do you have other
Remembering the
tips?
long-term memory lasts a
Okay.
little bit longer than the short-term. So the music is
Yes.
deep-rooted usually. They may remember their mom, their childhood home, maybe their job that they used to work at. And sometimes they remember the home, but the home that they're talking about, as the children think, is the home that mom and dad lived in for the last 20 years of their life, when in fact it's the home that mom grew up in when she was a child.
She was a child.
So
Wow.
keeping in mind the type of memory that's being lost.
So I'm guessing that maybe it's just a good idea to carry on those conversations that they seem to enjoy, to go back in time with them and let them talk about their childhood. And if they think that and they might be looking at their son and think they're talking to their husband or perhaps even their father, that's okay.
Live in their world.
Live in their world. That's a good tip. Do you have other tips?
Not really tips other than, just, again, trying to be supportive of that person. So, join whatever place they're at. A lot of times we'd often say, if it doesn't matter, then let it go. Sometimes we'd have families say, well, they don't ever want to change their clothes. They keep wanting to wear the same clothes. And we'd go, does it really matter? And if you're going to fight about it, it doesn't matter. Sometimes we'd often say, then buy them the same clothes and have 5 different pairs of those same pants. Because
Love
if
it.
they like those, then that would be an opportunity to change. But if it really doesn't matter, if their clothes don't match, and it doesn't matter that they're having candy for lunch, then you just have to let it go.
At
and
some
that's probably
point, right.
hardest on the caregiver
Yes.
than the person.
Yes. We're talking about this because November is actually 2 recognition months. Tell us what's happening in November.
So November is National Family Caregivers Month and National Alzheimer's Disease Awareness Month. President Bill Clinton named the week of Thanksgiving as a time to honor caregivers in 1997, and that has since expanded to National Family Caregivers Month.
Yeah.
And then also November is National Alzheimer's Disease Awareness Month, signed into proclamation by President Ronald Reagan in 1983. So it remains a great opportunity to raise public awareness of the disease and the experiences of caregivers.
It's good to raise awareness, also really good to raise funds. You
Yes.
have a memory walk, yes?
We do. We have a memory walk each year. The Tuscarawas County Walk to End Alzheimer's was held Saturday, September 16th at Dover Middle School. We actually had 240 families on 24 teams. We raised nearly $33,000.
Wow.
Which is
Say
phenomenal.
that
Yes.
again?
Pretty impressive. And I remember, and Pat probably does too, back in the day, we were lucky. Mostly the nursing home folks were the ones attending and supporting
Yes.
that walk. And I don't know, Pat, what would you say, 12, 10 teams maybe, that with
Right.
maybe
I think
100
the first
people?
walk we had in the county, we raised maybe $8,000 or $10,000.
So 33,000. Okay,
And
we're
you're
going to find a cure for this, aren't we?
Seeing a lot more participation from the general population in Tuscarawas County attending these walks and supporting it as well. So,
Well, for more information, where can people reach you? Let's give that hotline number again, please.
the hotline number is 1-800-272-3900.
And then for not a hotline, if someone just wants to volunteer or find out more or get more information about what you do, what do they do?
Go ahead.
They can contact the local Alzheimer's Association of East Ohio, and you can contact them through alz.org/East Ohio. They would be happy to talk to you about volunteer opportunities or other ways that you might be able to help the Alzheimer's Association.
It's wonderful. Darla Carlisle, Pat Warther, thank you so much for what you're doing in our community.
Thank you.
Thank you.